the treatment of addiction that I am familiar with is an attempt to address the underlying cause that is normally pain, sense of low self-esteem, worthlessness, all things like that. But I find these things to be pretty common among people outside of addiction as well. And actually the solutions that recovery provide are effective for for people that don't have an explicit addiction. Because if you've had that bulimia, I'm sure all of us have some sort of attachment, something that we're using to hold ourselves together. And if you find something that operates successfully within your culture, then you're all right. No one cares. Stand-up comedy, making money, until latterly pursuit of consensual sexual relationships. All those kind of things were like, they're sanctioned. But it's only when you do stuff that fucks you up in an evident or criminal way that it's a problem, isn't it?
Okay, so you remove those things, but you need to find something to transfer that addiction to, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay? You wake up, if you will. Is that fair to say?
It's exactly 100% accurate, Andrew, because the 12th step of the system of recovery I believe in is having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. It's about awakening, the suggestion being that you are in some kind of stupor. Now, that if it's alcohol or drugs, I suppose that's obvious, but we can all become spellbound through attachment. We can all find things to sort of hypnotize us. And this awakening is, an awakening to the reality of who you are in both its beauty, but also in its trauma and its flaws.
And what about an awakening to like what existence is?
Yes, I suppose that would also be true, but tell me
how
more
we
what you
fit
mean.
within existence. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I have certain friends who have woken up, if you will, and they got there because they experienced some traumatic shit maybe as a child or throughout their life, and they were incredibly depressed and sad. And then they distracted themselves with drugs or addiction, and then realized that drugs and addiction just continued to make them incredibly sad. And they were forced, because it was either killing themselves or finding a way to live within this structure that we call life. And they were forced to like analyze life in a different way and forced to like figure out what their maybe purpose is, or if there is even a purpose, but they were really forced into being awakened.
Yes.
And sometimes those friends have tons of empathy for people who aren't awoken yet, and sometimes they don't. And my question to you is, do you see someone who's not awake yet and go, well, maybe they don't need to wake up. Maybe they're not suffering in the way I was suffering that forced me to go through what I had to go through to wake up and figure out a way to basically continue living because it was death or this.
No, we must all awaken. This is what I've learned from it. I feel like I'm lucky to have had the journey that I had in terms of being a smackhead and a crackhead, because those things are extreme enough to warrant intervention. At some point, you have to stop it. Yeah. But I think what we're dealing with now are cultural modalities that keep us all sort of loosely numbed and distracted. Yeah. Like, I find it really hard to deal with drug addicts when I have to deal with them. Like, it really bugs me and annoys me. Sometimes maybe part of my recovery is I have to, and it's why that I
help others, right?
Help the others. Oh God, isn't it exhausting? Others. You're not even them. You're not actually me. And I've got to sort of care. And you're still existing when I'm not there, and I've got to do stuff like so. Sometimes I like it when it's hardcore, when they're proper like down on the streets, lesion covered, smackhead, needle out the arm, missing an eye. Yeah. Oh, I'm all over them. Yeah. Oh, I'm like Jesus. Like, Jesus, if it was a WWF version of Jesus. Like, I'm over there, I'm helping, I'm hands on, not too close, like giving them everything that's required and that. Yeah. But like, what about all people have unconscious tendencies? If you're not doing what you're doing consciously, you are likely doing it unconsciously. Sometimes we don't know what our motivations are. All these conflagrations, inadvertent and irrelevant, even in the quotidian, some skirmish in the street or in a parking lot. What is it really? What is it really when someone gets out their car ready to kill you because you cut them up in traffic? First my whole fucking life, and now this, and now this, and like every single bit of pain, you're willing to express it all in that moment. So if you are awake, you are able to observe, oh look, I'm becoming anxious now, I'm afraid now. If I come into a situation like this, like a sort of a very male environment, you are all strong, gifted people. I'm aware, like, I hope that, you've not brought me here to fuck me up and annihilate me. That's why I came in camouflage. Should have been required, I could just slink off like a leopard. But I'm stay conscious. I stay conscious, and then I operate on these principles. If I, in my heart, am not trying to be mean to anybody, I feel like I've got a contract. Like, so if I come in here and I start saying nasty shit, then I feel God's got my back if I'm behaving properly. That's what my life shown me. Life has shown me.
I asked that question more because I find it like when I'm interviewing somebody like you, who I obviously respect, but more so than that, I don't feel like I can bullshit you at all. So I'm very specific in the things that I'm asking you because I feel like you see bullshit. So sometimes bullshit is required for social lubrication.
Yes.
Right? So we do it in life. We're getting a fucking coffee, this, that, the other. But there are certain people, and you, almost immediately upon meeting you, I was like, okay, there's going to be no room for bullshit right now. So I have to ask you the things that I'm really curious about, and tell you the things that I'm genuinely curious about. Even if I look dumb doing it, or maybe I look smart, doesn't matter. As long as it's pure and authentic, I think it works.
Yes, you have to do that. It's necessary. You obviously do it to a degree naturally anyway. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to enjoy the success you do either as in this format or with the live stand-up format. What I feel like what people do, and like you were kind enough to say about when I went on them normal TV shows where it's all graphics and glistening, is like they think, oh, like you're going to be an idiot because they think, oh, like you're a celebrity person. But that's not what I'm from. That's not. I was 30 before I made any money out of this business. Before that, I was having to live in very, very different circumstances, and I was born in different circumstances, and they left my mark on me. Now, I'm not trying to be Ice Cube here. I'm like from Grays in Essex. It's sort of a bit like dull. It's not.
Is Ice Cube your idea of like the rough life?
Think of me I sort of like Ice Cube. You know how rough it was? Oh my God. I was straight out of Compton. I had to nip back. I'd left the gas on. Back into Compton. Put a few coins in the meter. Out of Compton again. Yeah. No, it's not like I'm saying it's sort of super street. I'm English, I'm white, all of those things. But what I'm saying is like that there's a degree of poverty and there's addiction and all of those things. Yeah. And then having to acknowledge like the amount of personal failings and learning to deal. Things like authenticity and integrity are for me incontrovertible ideas. I'm still wrapped up and strapped up in all manner of hopeless flaws and stuff. But what I do have now is, I think, presence. I'm present and I'm like, I'm watching what's happening.
And also, you don't have to like, make excuses for your struggles just because you're white. Like, white people have to deal with a lot.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes the industry doesn't buy their special. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of struggle out there.
Sometimes we got to listen to minorities complain. That's annoying. Every single day. We can't say anything about it.
For just $5, you can get Andrew some earplugs so that he can block off the complaining of the minority members who he's kindly put into this his show. He's not put his name in the title. It's not Andrew Schulz Flagrant. There's all sorts of people here. Two of whom are plainly not white, and even the one who is white has got a very good natural hair lift.
Thank you so much. That is true.
That is a good root lift.
Yeah, I just got it done today.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was in Turkey. I got it done. It was amazing.